Hello guys and welcome back to Others on the Bowl. Welcome to my round 21 tips video. So yeah, another round of footy. Done and dusted. 4 rounds to go on the season, so basically a month till end of the season, so it should be a pretty interesting final month of footy. Last week wasn't a great round of footy. Only good game was the last game of the round, St Kilda Melbourne. Still cannot believe what happened as a Saints fan, but we'll get more into that later. But yeah, for the games in the round, it was pretty disappointing. All the derbies were pretty one-sided, and yeah, it was a pretty easy to tip round of footy. I got 7 out of 9. The tips I got wrong, I tipped the Saints. I tipped Melbourne to win. I can't actually remember the other tip I got wrong, but I'll get to that later. And Oz calls 3 out of 9, not too bad, but not great. So last week, as I said, 7 out of 9 tips for the round, not amazing. First game, Hawthorn-Carlton, was a pretty one-sided game, actually second closest game of the round. Tipped the Hawks to win by 30. They won by 24, so not too bad margin-wise. Then on the 2 Friday night games, Western Bulldogs absolutely smashed Essendon in a pretty comfortable win, and Giants got a pretty comfortable win in the end, but it was quite a big comeback win over Sydney. And then Gold Coast absolutely smashed Brisbane. That was the other tip I got wrong. Crazy win, like you would not have expected them to win that. And then Freo beat West Coast. Geelong absolutely pumped North, as you would expect. Jezza Cameron kicked 11, and then Adelaide pumped Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. And then on the Sunday, had Collingwood, Richmond. Collingwood won pretty easy, and then St Kilda beat Melbourne by 6. Melbourne should have won that. That was a crazy, ridiculous game. Come from behind, 46 points at three-quarter time, and yeah, I don't know how they lost, even with 8 seconds to go, the 6-6-6 free kick, but that was the results for round 20. Moving on to the tips round 21 and the games round 21. So, first game, GWS v Western Bulldogs, Marvel Stadium, 7:30pm Thursday night. Should be a pretty good game to kick off the round. Bulldogs 11-8 last week, beat Essendon by 93. Darcy and Norton kicked, I think it was in the end 13 between them, so massive game for their 2 key forwards, and yeah, it was they really just feasted on a very young Essendon defence, and it's what you would expect, especially with the Bulldogs being known to beat up the bad sides but then lose to all the good sides. So yeah, this shapes as a really crucial game for their season, and I reckon if Gold Coast get over the line against Richmond, which you'd expect them to, and if the Bulldogs lose, I reckon they're not making finals. And then you've got the Giants, 13-6 last week, beat Sydney by 44. It was a pretty good win. After half-time, they were down by about 35 points in the second quarter, but then I think it was like 1 goal to 15 from there, or like 13 from there, or something stupid, and the Giants really just dominated the second half, coming away with a comfortable win. So Bulldogs are the only team, Giants are the only team the Bulldogs have beat in the top 9, so that's pretty crazy. It was in Canberra quite a while ago, so this game, can they beat them again? I don't know. I'm going to tip the Giants though by 7 in this one. With my odds called, both teams combined for 200 plus points. Next game on the Friday night, another pretty good game, Adelaide Oval. We've got Hawthorn v Adelaide. Adelaide 14-5 last week, beat Port Adelaide by 98. I didn't watch much of the game, but it was a pretty comfortable win in the end, winning by 98, as I said. Yeah, not a great performance from Port Adelaide in the showdown, but the Pros love a big win, and they got another one on Saturday. And then you got the Hawks, 13-6 last week, beat Carlton by 24. Pretty good performance. They didn't do anything extraordinary, but a win's a win. They're 13-6. They're pushing for top 4, so they're going pretty well. Hawks did get Adelaide in a very close one, I think, 8 weeks ago when they last played, but the conditions weren't great for either side. So this one, especially, Adelaide played pretty well at home. I'm going to tip Adelaide by 18, with my odds called the margins less than 5 points at half-time. Next game, Marvel 1:20pm Sunday. I've got West Coast v Melbourne. Melbourne 6-13 last week, lost to St Kilda by 6. There's got to be some sort of investigation at the club into how they lost from 46 points down at three-quarter time. They had scored double our score and let us kick 9 goals in the last quarter and somehow lost. Even like a minute to go, they were up by 6 points, and then 8 seconds to give away that 6-3 was ridiculous, and then allow the mark was even worse. So I don't know how they lost, and that's put a bit of a dampener on what's already been a pretty bad season. But you'd think returning to Marvel, they should win this one pretty easily. Then you got West Coast 1-18, lost to Freo by 49. Yeah, I actually cannot see them getting another win this season. Might finish the season with 1 win, because they play alright some weeks, but then some they don't. And now they're missing Harley Reid, who, although he does give away a few free kicks and has some bad games, he has been their best player, up there with their best player in the last couple of weeks. So him being out for the season really hurts them. So I'm going to tip Melbourne pretty comfortably in this one. I'm going to tip them by 51. My Ollie's call that Melbourne lead at all changes. Next game, 4:10pm Saturday, People First Stadium, got Gold Coast v Richmond. Gold Coast 12-6 last week, beat Brisbane by 66. Was a pretty comfortable win in the end. Great performance by Gold Coast, one of the better performances in their history, I'd say. I think it's their biggest ever Q Clash win. So yeah, pretty good performance, and they do play pretty well at home, so you'd expect them to do well in this match as well. And then they probably only need to win like 2 more matches if they can win this one out of their remaining 4, and they're probably in finals. Then Richmond 5-14, lost to Collingwood by 36 last week. Wasn't the greatest performance, but it wasn't the worst either. Collingwood best side in the comp, so to only lose by 36, very young and inexperienced team, isn't too bad. But I'm going to tip Gold Coast in this one, pretty obvious. Going to tip them by 47, with my Ollie's called Noah Anderson, has 120 plus Supercoach points. Next game, SCG 4:15pm Saturday. Second 4:15 game, Sydney v Essendon. Sydney 9-10 last week, lost to GWS by 44. Wasn't a great performance after half time. Really just went to sleep, and Giants just ran over the top of them. Now they can't make finals, so they'll just be looking for a couple of wins to top the season off. Essendon 6-12 last week, lost to Western Bulldogs by 93. It was not a great performance. Their young defence was just overrun, and you'd expect that though. So this one could be another blowout for the Bombers. Essendon did beat Sydney at Marvel earlier in the season, but I think that was their last win, Essendon, and now they've lost like 8 in a row. So I'm going to tip Sydney pretty comfortably. I'm going to tip them by 57, with my Ollie's call Chad Warner has 25 plus disposals. Then the Saturday night game, could be game of the season, MCG 7:35pm Saturday. Got Collingwood, who are 15-4 last week, beat Richmond by 36, and we've got Brisbane 13-1-5. 13-1-5 last week, lost to Gold Coast by 66. Now Brisbane was a very deflating performance against the Sun, but you're gonna have bad games. Collingwood have lost 2 out of their last 3 as well, and didn't look all too convincing against Richmond, so this game could really go either way. Collingwood will go in as the strong favourites. Pretty sure it's sold out as well. Channel 7 will be spewing that this is not a prime time fixture. Well, Channel 7 fixture, probably game of the season, as I said. Collingwood did beat the Brisbane quite a bit earlier in the season, but if Brisbane play like they did against Geelong, I reckon they can win. So I'm going to tip an upset here. I'm going to tip Brisbane by 2, with my Ollie's called Brisbane kick 15 plus goals. Next game, Marvel Stadium, 1:40pm Sunday. We've got St Kilda v North Melbourne. And St Kilda last week, well, I actually do not know what to think of that performance, because first 3 quarters were probably the worst 3 quarters we've played all season. And then last quarter was the best quarter we've played all season. 6-13 last week, beat Melbourne by 6. Nazar Wanganeen-Miller is an absolute star. Single-handedly won us the game. And yeah, it was a really good performance in the last quarter. And as I said earlier, I actually do not know how Melbourne lost that. Then you got North Melbourne 4-1 and 14. Last week lost to Geelong by 1-1. It was a pretty disappointing performance. North have showed some signs this season, but they looked back to their couple of years ago form in that game. So at Marvel, Saints usually play there pretty well. Coming off a pretty inspiring win, I'm going to tip the Saints by 12. And my Oz corners are Wanganeen Malira has 25 plus disposals. Next game, G-Match BA Stadium, 3:15 p.m. Sunday. I've got Geelong v Port Adelaide. Geelong 13-6 last week beat North Melbourne by 101. It was a pretty good performance. Didn't watch much, but Jeremy Cameron kicked 11 goals, which is pretty impressive in any given game, even if it's against a pretty it's against a lesser side, and he is a faint chance to score 100 on 69 goals, 4 games left against some lower teams, 2 at G-Match BA, so you could say he might get close to 20 from league games, and then plus finals, so could actually kick close to 100. Then you've got Port Adelaide 8-11, last week lost to Adelaide by 98. I didn't watch much, but it can't have been a good performance. They just let the Crows dominate them. So I'm going to tip Geelong in this one pretty comfortably by 55. And my others called Geelong kicked 10 or more first half goals. And then the final game of the round, Carlton v Fremantle, Optus 5:10 p.m. Sunday. Freo 13-6 last week beat West Coast by 49. Pretty good performance. I think it's their ninth win out of the last 10, so pretty good from them, and they should be making finals pretty comfortably, especially if they win this one, and could even be a chance for top 4. Then you've got the Blues 7-12, last week lost to Hawthorn by 24. It wasn't a great performance, and they'll just be looking to play well in their last couple of matches of the season. I'm going to tip Freo on this one. I think they play pretty well at Optus, and they've been in really good form. I'm going to tip Freo by 27 with my Oz call Murphy Reid kicks 3 plus goals. So just a recap of my tips for the round. First game, I'm going to probably tip an upset. I'm going to tip the Giants in this one by a pretty close margin of 7 points. Then next game, Friday night game, Adelaide Hawks. Adelaide should get up at the Adelaide Oval. Then on the Saturday, we've got 4 games, 2 twilight games. Melbourne should easily beat West Coast, rare home game at Marvel. Gold Coast should easily beat Richmond at home. Sydney should easily beat Essendon. And then Collingwood, Brisbane should be game of the round. I'm going to tip Brisbane in a really big upset. And then on the Sunday, 3 pretty easy tips. St Kilda to beat North, Geelong to beat Port Adelaide, and Freo to tip Carlton. So those are my tips for round 21. Thanks for watching Ollie's on the Ball. Hope you enjoyed another tips video, and should be some exciting videos as we get into finals. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.